There's 34 enemies in Hogwarts Legacy and over 85 beasts, beings, and spirits in the wizarding world. But what new enemies and creatures can we expect to see in the future DLC update this summer, or even in Hogwarts Legacy 2? Well, I've got 10 here for you that I think there's a good chance that we're going to be going up against sooner rather than later. And let's start with Dementors, because they've actually already got them in the game through the Hufflepuff house quest. So the actual game models and their general movement animations have already been created by the developers, albeit for just a cutscene, as we can see here. So with this in mind, I think we can confidently expect to see them in this game in the future as patrolling bosses around the map or random encounters, which I think will be like what we've actually experienced recently in the Avatar Frontiers of Pandora game, where if you went into a specific hunting area of a Thanator, your UI would disappear, hunting music would actually play in the background, and fog would hit your screen until the Thanator attacked you. And I reckon this would absolutely be perfect for something similar for a Dementor encounter in game. They also could reward us with high quality gear and perhaps help us level up our Patronus spells, so we're able to go from casting a incorporeal Patronus, which is just mist essentially, to then being able to conjure a fully fledged corporeal Patronus, which takes the form of an animal. Now, I spoke about this in depth recently in a top 10 spells we need video, and I will leave a link on the screen at the end of this video if you're interested in that, as I don't want to kind of repeat myself too much here. Now, I'll tell you what I am interested in seeing fully developed in the update this summer or for the next game, and that's the inclusion of werewolves, who have played a big role in the Muggle and Wizarding World lore. So I can definitely see a really compelling storyline opportunity here for the team to delve into for us. And this is especially so as we've already been teased with that werewolf tapestry in the castle, which, if you didn't know, tells the story of a witch being bitten by a werewolf when you cast the Lumos spell at each tapestry in turn. In fact, one of the reasons why werewolves would make a great addition to Hogwarts Legacy is that they're incredibly dangerous, of course, and could offer us a really challenging in-game boss fight and substantial rewards for us if we are successful in defeating them. We also already know that the game has changing seasons built into it already, so perhaps on a full moon, a random werewolf event would occur when we'll have to put down a werewolf ourselves, or alternatively try and befriend it and subsequently stop it terrorizing the local villages, tapping into that morality questing option. Incidentally, we already have certain Animagus enemies transforming into wolves in the game already, so I don't think this is a far-fetched idea for its implementation, and I hope we do see it added in the future. Now, another mechanic that I'm very confident will be happening in future updates and installments is the ability to swim underwater, as there's an incredible amount of deep lore there to be included in the game.
It's Timothy. He's my friend.
Now, we already know that there is a giant squid in the Black Lake, as well as merpeople, who were really known to be quite ambivalent to witches and wizards in their behavior towards them, similar in that respect to centaurs, where they really sat on the fence in terms of their opinions of humans. And with this in mind, I think they would be a great friend or foe to have underwater in this game, as poachers were known to kill merpeople for their hair to then be used inside wand cores. So if the team don't add merpeople as an enemy, I could definitely see them being added alongside a new Room of Requirement vivarium made entirely of water beings, where we'll be able to create a new home for them and other creatures away from poachers, and earning merpeople hair as a resource ourselves that we could then sell or use to create different items on the loom. Now, as for reference, I think Horizon Forbidden West really nailed the water combat in its sequel, and I would really love to see Hogwarts Legacy do the same in its sequel if we don't get any sort of kind of underwater combat movement exploration in a DLC. Now, speaking of which, the whole idea of swimming or fighting underwater got me thinking about how we could actually swiftly travel through the large lochs and bodies of water that the team have already added into this game, and that led me to the idea of a Kelpie, which is a shape-shifting water demon native to the UK and Ireland, where it usually took the form of an underwater horse and could be tamed by using a placement charm to then place a bridle over its mane. But it was also known to attack humans and drag them under the water to eat them. Incidentally, in God of War Ragnarok, you actually get to ride a Kelpie underwater, which was terrific to play. And with Newt Scamander having a Kelpie in his own vivarium, I wouldn't at all be surprised if we complete a quest similar similar to the Graphorn one, where we learn to tame a Kelpie so we can then use it as water transport and then harvest their main hairs in our own vivarium, which are also used for wand cores. So lots of exciting possibilities here if they do decide to add underwater content. And by the way, if you are enjoying the video so far, please do leave a very quick like down below. I really appreciate it. So genuinely, thank you very much. Now, when you do complete Hogwarts Legacy, you get this cutscene of the students taking part in classes and finishing off the school year. But I want to bring your attention to this scene with Natsai on eye, as she can be seen facing a Boggart in a cupboard in the Defense Against the Dark Arts class. Now, you may remember this scene from several of the films that have come out over the last couple decades, as learning to defeat a Boggart was an important part of personal development, as it took the form of your greatest fear, with the only way to defeat it being to cast a ridiculous spell, which would then turn the Boggart into an alternative form of your fear, which would be funny to you and those around you. Now, this could be a great inclusion in the game going forward, as these Boggarts could be mini boss fights that pop out randomly when we loot chests, cupboards, and explore rooms throughout the game. They could also take on the form of the main story narrative antagonists that we're up against, or perhaps the same form of creatures or NPCs that have previously killed us, as the Boggart animation and enemy models are already in this game, as we can already see here. So it's just about bringing that all together to make the world more immersive for us. Now, a creature that you may not have come across before is the Hidebehind, which is the offspring of a ghoul and a demiguise, which I'm sure you're now familiar with after hearing this over and over again in-game.
Mine now, demiguise.
But what's interesting about the Hidebehind is that it's not friendly at all, and it can also turn invisible, which makes it incredibly dangerous and difficult to catch out in the wild. And that's because, to add to its powers of invisibility, it also absolutely loved killing and hunting humans. So in a way, its implementation here could be similar to that of the roaming boss Dementor mechanic that we kind of spoke about earlier. And I would love to see something of that nature added here with this creature in this game, where it would hunt us in the forest, or perhaps sneak up and try and kill us if we went AFK in certain areas. But as a reward for killing the Hidebehind, I think it could offer us some unique gear that we could craft back at the loom, which would imbue our robes with the essence of invisibility. So perhaps when we do equip this gear, enemies then take a lot longer to identify us or become alerted when we do get close to them whilst wearing Hidebehind crafted clothing, which would be a really cool gameplay detail. But whilst we're on the topic of cool, having giants in this game would definitely be pretty awesome from a lore and adversary perspective, depending upon how you like to play. And the reason I say that is because giants were not in short supply before the 1920s. In fact, their population only began to decline after the First Wizarding World War, where they sided with Lord Voldemort and were subsequently hunted and killed extensively by witches and wizards. Now, what makes them interesting is that they're slightly more intelligent than trolls, which we have in-game already, of course, but unlike trolls, they were capable of chatting in English. In fact, if you wanted to befriend a giant, you often had to provide it with a gift and then generously lobby them into open communication. And if that was successful, well, then you had a 25-foot, 2-ton big boy on your side, which could really open up a couple of exciting or interesting options for us in-game, because perhaps we have two choices here. Do we then choose to befriend giants and have them temporarily follow us around as some sort of juggernaut companion, similar to casting Imperio on a troll in-game? Or perhaps we offensively fight against them for their treasure and loot that they're guarding and have stored away in their caves. Either way, having more larger enemies in the game alongside trolls would be a big win for me. And whilst we're on the topic of big W's, I think getting the Sphinx into an update or the next game is a definite must from a content perspective, which you may remember from the books, where Harry actually faced off against one in the maze of the Triwizard Tournament, where he had to answer her riddles correctly to then proceed. Now, not only were Sphinxes renowned for their extreme intelligence, love of puzzles, and creation of challenging enigmas, they also possessed superhuman strength, as they had the body of a lion and the head of a human. In fact, the developers have already created a statue model of a Sphinx in game, so I think they're giving us a little bit of an idea here on how it would look at the foundational level if it was added in future. But as for gameplay, I think these creatures would be perfect for guarding a cave, mazes, or vaults with high-level loot inside them, where the only way we'd be able to get inside is to either be max level, so we could defeat it with our offensive spells, or if we answer its riddles correctly, to then allow us to pass, just like Harry did in the Goblet of Fire. Now, a big highlight for me in Hogwarts Legacy was the Hebridean Black Dragon that featured in Poppy's questline, as well as seeing it randomly appear across the map in different locations. But I'm not going to lie to you, I'm a little bit gutted that we weren't able to fly on the back of it, just like the trio did in the books and the films, but that's one of the things that I'm hopefully holding out for in the future here, because alongside the Hebridean Black, there's also one more dragon that makes its home in the British Isles, and that's the Common Welsh Green. So at the very least, it would be fantastic to see another quest line involving another dragon, or alternatively, it would be great to see the implementation of dragon nests around the world as high-end boss fights where we need to defeat it one-on-one, with God of War showcasing how a dragon fight can be done as a good example, as well as Jedi Fallen Order also having something similar here, where the team created these awesome cinematic fight scenes, which I'd love to see replicated in Hogwarts Legacy in some manner. And perhaps this is how we then obtain our very own dragon egg, which we can then go on to raise ourselves and subsequently use as an in-game mount. And I'm probably being a little bit too fanciful there in terms of kind of what I want in this game, but I would love to see that happen in the future. And even if it's in the distant future, that's absolutely fine by me. But I tell you what else I'd love to see included as a bit of a crescendo when it comes to big boss fights, and that is a basilisk, which was otherwise known as the King of Serpents, that was specifically bred by dark wizards. Herpo the Foul being the first to breed one successfully by hatching a chicken egg beneath a toad, which we actually see reported extensively throughout the local papers in Hogwarts Legacy. So again, I don't know if the team are kind of teasing us here, as there was a dead man found in a cave in the southern part of the map with broken eggs and chicken cages left all over the shop. So perhaps there is a basilisk out there roaming around in this game where it can kill people just by looking at them. And with their venom being incredibly poisonous and rare, the only known cure is Phoenix tears, which we of course have our own Phoenix back in our own vivarium, so maybe we'll have to face off against it once we've stocked up on our Phoenix tears as the necessary antidote, because Wiggenweld health potions just will not cut it when it comes to taking damage and venom against a basilisk. Now, on top of all that, I've got even more Hogwarts Legacy content for you, which I think you'll find interesting and good fun. So click the video on your screen or on my face right now, and hopefully I'll see you there in a second. Big thanks to Nika for helping me make this video for you. Butterbeer is on her, and I'll see you in that next video in just a second.